What news? With pleasure, my savior. The wizard prepared a special hiding place for them. A cellar outside their home, concealed by a massive black boulder. First, though, you'll need a key. This you'll find within one of the wizard's beehives. Destroy the boulder, unlock the cellar door, and you'll find yourself face to face with those you seek. And now freedom. Freedom and sunlight. Freedom and fresh air. I'll never forget this kindness you've granted me, my friend. Not on my life. I bid thee the best of luck.
Smile upon me.
Wargraf spotted a trap.
What deluge!
There's still meat in those bones.
Better to detonate that mine safely than trip over
Wargraf
it
spotted a
myself.
trap.
I'd prefer to drown my sorrows with ale.
Wargraf spotted a trap.
To think I could could have made a fortune selling all of these balloons.
Did someone leave an oven door open?
It never rains, but it pours, eh?
My, you're still alive. Way to beat the odds, Wanderer. My, you're still alive. Way to beat the odds, Wanderer. Chandelier, most like. And a very austere.
Oh, I'm tricked. Oh, I'm dripping. I could do with a cold drink.
May your sword never sully, and your shield never shatter.
The cards are shuffled. Now.
The deal is this. When we attacked Hunter's Edge, we and the orcs had the village completely surrounded to ensure no one could escape. The plan was a good one. For only some blacksmith and his wife managed to flee after their little demon of a pet bit an orc's arm off. The wizard and his smart men have an orc torturer, courtesy of Glutilda.
Going to call that hand?
By the goddess God, sits unpatched!
I give not you for lost. From this descent, celestial virtues rising will appear more glorious and more dread than from no fall. Whence thou returnest, and whither wentest, I know. Direction hardly signifies. About me, the Guardian's first disobedience, and the fruit of that forbidden box, whose depths brought death into this world, and all our woe with loss of source I remember. I come no spy with purpose to explore or to disturb the secrets of your realm. But secrets of my own I bring. The secrets of another world, perhaps not lawful to reveal. Which way I fly is here. Myself am here, but in the lowest deep. A lower deep still threatening to devour this homestead opens wide. To ask or search, I blame thee not. For Rivellon is as the book of the gods before thee set, wherein to read his wondrous works and learn his seasons, hours or days or months or years.
I've already read this.
I give not you for lost. From this descent, celestial virtues rising will appear more glorious and more dread than from no fall.
I've already read this.
I give not you for lost. From this descent, celestial virtues rising will appear more glorious and more dread than from no fall.
This wonder of a realm, it's like a slice of freedom. Now, that hoity-toity historian thinks he's so much better than us demon thralls just because he was never actually enthralled by demons. And yet he's no more than a lackey to the gods, isn't he? What's the difference? Right you are. Grab a drink, sit you down, and lend me all the ears you have. We imps, you see, are a mixed breed of demons and some other long-forgotten race, which means we aren't as evil as the devils that begot us, but I'll be damned twice over if we aren't as clever. We hail from the realm of Nemesis, where demons have ruled supreme since, well, forever, really. Their knowledge of secrets and arcane scholarship is unparalleled. As unparalleled, in fact, as our inquisitiveness. Now, curiosity may have killed the cat, poor thing, but it enslaved us imps as well. We were blinded by the promises of knowledge the demons dangled in front of our eager faces. Yes, well, in hindsight it wasn't, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. Here's what happened. In return for our fair share of demonic knowledge, all of us imps had to sign our names in an indestructible book called the Codex, which was to be considered an oath of servitude, a contract of give and take for mutual benefit, and signed out of free will. Fools that we were, we readily agreed, and thereby signed our way into slavery. For we had to do everything the demons told us to, and they, in turn, shared very little knowledge with us indeed. Quite so. That's because one day, a particularly clever imp amongst us devised an escape plan. If we would be able to steal the Codex and disappear with it, the demons would no longer be able to lay claim on us, for without the proof of the Codex, the contract between us would be broken. One night, as the demons lay sleeping after a most sordid orgy indeed, we stole the Codex and fled from Nemesis through a rift. Ever since then, we've been on the run, for our masters swore they'd return the Codex to Nemesis so they can claim our servitude once more. So all we do is run and hide ad nauseam. Eternal fugitives are we. It kind of got lost, to tell you the truth. That's what happens after generations of flight. Things get misplaced. And yet, wherever that bloody book may be, up until now, the demons still haven't found it. So, good news there. Only a matter of time until they do, though. Unless, of course, time ends first. Wouldn't that be a stroke of luck?
A pleasure to see you again. Eager for another try at a better you. My autobiography will hardly serve you. What's far more relevant is what I see in you. Quite crucial, your survival, isn't it? And you do seem such a reasonable sort to boot. There's very little pleasure greater than dealing with a reasonable sort, I find. Yourself redone, of course. Your very parts and pieces reorganized into something simply better.
It's you again. Nice and drafty in here, isn't it? Oh, me? Sorry. I was just thinking about what it would be like if humans ate with their noses instead of their mouths. Anyway, what were you asking? Oh, yes. I saw how breezy and blowy you'd made this place. I thought it'd be the perfect place to clear my head. But not to worry. I'll earn my keep. My stock of air spells will blow your socks off. Yes. Snort that spaghetti. Oh, pardon. Yes. So, you'd like to learn to gust with the best of them, would you? Have a look.
Hello, Santa! Oh, don't go! Please, I'll show you a trick. Look, 1, 2, 3, and now your name is Freddy. Amazing, isn't it?
You've returned, my brilliant friend. What is it that you wish to know? Why, I am a soldier of fire. And does this landscape not befit me? I have lived here for eons, since the first great peace, when the world as your kind know it was first secured. We were invited here by a great leader, I believe. Yes, a leader, I'm sure it was. The details, they crumble like ash when I try to grasp them in truth. But the radiance of that time has never left me. Victory, blazing victory, adorned our heads like a crown of glorious flames. I'm sure one as radiant as yourself must understand exactly what I mean. What do I know? Ha! Fire magic is me, and I am it. A far better question is, what would you like to know? Take care, my friend. Those who blaze brightly may find themselves targeted by darkness.
Welcome back. The rock spirit within me greets the rock spirit within you. Can't you tell? I'm the universe. You're the universe. We're all the universe. It's a beautiful thing, to be sure. I noticed you were bringing this place in close contact with the spirit of nature, and I thought to myself, that's where I belong. Thanks for putting me up. With utmost pleasure, my friend. The Earth's knowledge is meant to be shared. May the Earth's vibrations rock you gently.
Tell me, O Weaver.
The degenerates here claim they have been cleansed, but I can still smell the stink of persisting putrescence wafting from their grimy flesh. Silver Glen, this place sickens me. I can tell you if you wish, but you'd have to listen to the tale of my life, because my future, such as it is rooted deeply into my history. Yes, let's get this over with. Once upon a time, I was a king in a land of beauty to the east. A land of tigers and slender towers, of deserts and forests, of sun and all the world's wealth. I was a young king, handsome and all-powerful. Every nobleman would have killed his own brother if I promised to take his daughter's hand in marriage. But I refused their incessant implorations. I knew my life as a sovereign would be self-indulgent, but also a self-delusory one, if I weren't to marry for love. And so a handful of years went by. The king's throne I myself occupied, whereas the Queen's throne remained empty but for the court's cats that would nap the afternoons away upon its velvet cushions. But then one day, a young woman visited my kingdom. She was a poetess and a storyteller. People flocked to her, listened to her every word as if receiving mantras from the divines. I invited her to my palace, and soon our days, our nights, our love and our lives intertwined. Hiraka. How I miss her still. Miss the brilliance of her mind that was both as sparkling and as unbreakable as the diamonds that adorned her body. Oh, and how I miss her body. 1,000 artists I could have commanded, show me beauty. But she would have effortlessly surpassed their every endeavor, and curving her lips into a smile, make them break their sculptures in tearful impotence. And yet, true happiness, that commodity more precious and even more fleeting than the dominion of kings, sang to us like the nightingale, only to depart come the dawn of our first year's unity. A malady overtook me, and I began to wither. It was an unparalleled horror. Scores of physicians flocked to my bedside. They traveled from realms across the seas, hoping to cure the mighty Jehan, undo the gloom that had befallen the land, and mere vultures that they were, to be paid handsomely for their efforts. But none of their potions took effect. Their salves seared, but did not soothe my fading flesh. Like a ghoul I looked, unburied yet risen from the grave. In futile anger I struck my mirror, but broke my brittle fingers only, not its ever-mocking surface. It went like this, Hunter. If a ghoul I had become, so a dark turn of thought convinced me, a ghoul's methods I should employ to escape the labyrinthian crypt of corporeal corruption. A necromancer I'd be. Yes, only from deep within the deliriums of death would I tunnel my way back into the gardens of life. I did unspeakable things in the dusky dungeons that twist like forgotten veins to long-deceased organs far beneath my castle's sunlit halls. Halls which held my throne and held the bed upon which Hiraka slept, her very touch blessing the satin she reposed upon. Still there came no relief. Perversions I created in scores, but they were mere undead all. Creatures so piteous that the thought of cheating death in their guise frightened me more than the swing of the scythe itself. Like mosquitoes in the night, panic and despair beset me until I turned to that darkest of all arts, demonology. It had to be. There was no other way. I could feel the life slipping out of me like love out of a betrayed spouse's heart. So I studied tomes so old the dust that fell from their centuries' unperused pages never knew the light of the stars that now shine. I drew forbidden symbols. I spoke unhallowed words, and from the smoke that rose like a dragon's last breath, a demon appeared to me and said, "Ask, O blighted king, and you shall have." "Just tell me," I cried. "Tell me what ails me." Hiraka. Never had I known a single word can cut deeper than the sharpest of daggers. With maddening glee, the demon told me she was one of his kin. A soul-swallowing horror that had been feeding on both my body and my spirit like a leech. An ancient being was she, that moved from king to king throughout the ages, filling their hearts with love, then draining them of life. After such revelations, does one truly desire to live on? Death seemed like a mother then, welcoming me with her all will be well embrace. Yet still I feared exceedingly her seemingly sweet caress, and the oblivion that would follow. Release me from her, demon, and give me back the strength of a sick, free existence. So went my desperate plea. It smiled, of course it did. Smiled bare 100 razors as its eyes came alight with infernal fire. 1,000 years I will give you, it whispered. But then your soul shall be mine to incarcerate in the depths of hellish nemesis. As for your throne, that I'll have now. What say you, O brittle king? Do you accept my terms? I think you know the answer to that question, Hunter. But I've said enough for now. These memories are painful to recollect, so let us turn to the rest of them later. Yes, let's get this over with. Of course you do. Gladly I would rejoin your party, but it seems rather pointless to do so, seeing that quite clearly there is no room left in your band of adventurers for an additional champion. A pity, really. More prey awaits.
Back again, and not a moment too soon. Wait till you see the fine souls who've joined my ranks, or yours for the right price. Of course, Chief. But maybe you ought to get rid of some of your old ones first. Never does well to sour one batch in sight of the other.
Well, well, well. So our very own demon hunter once dabbled in the so-called darkest of arts himself.
A man so utterly betrayed and dying will grasp at any straw. I can hardly blame him.
But I can. No matter the circumstance, I simply cannot abide a hypocrite.
What can I do for you, Source Hunter? So I shall. Once upon a time, I knew my... But then one day, a young woman visited my kingdom. She was a poetess and a storyteller. People flocked to her, listened to her every word as if receiving mantras from the... I think you know the answer to that question, Hunter. But I've said enough for now. These memories are painful to recollect, so let us turn to the rest of them later. And undoubtedly I have answers. I am not from any place anymore. I go where my quest leads me. Besides, the name would mean nothing to you. The glorious city in the glorious kingdom where I was born. I remember them well, the sandstone castles, hued like the very sun that batters their battlements without rest. I can see them still. The fountained gardens and halls of pearl-colored marble inlaid with gemstones set in shapes of plants and beasts. Yes, I can see them still, though when I try to focus on their details, like mirages they dissolve upon approach. Time. It frays the foundations of memory. For 1,000 reasons, and for one especial. The 1,000 obvious ones I'll list with pleasure. The special one, that is my secret to keep. Hunter, I could find you cross-dressed under the spell of a dominant goblin, yet when next we'd meet there'd be no questions asked. I have my secrets. Undoubtedly, you have yours. They are ours to keep. 1. Their scourge taints the natural world. 2. Their machinations irreversibly corrupt minds. 3. Their perversions seek to end all beauty. 4. Their schemes unhinge the fabric of space and time. 5. Their presence distorts all intrinsic harmony. And so let the hunt continue.
What's the word, Source Hunter? I believe the answer to that begins centuries ago, when your order was still cutting down so-called dark magicians by the dozens. Ours was a family of born sorcerers, you see. It was in our blood to interact with Source, but our parents were determined to curb the power within us. Still, their meekness wouldn't save them from the Source Hunters. They came on a quiet morning. My mother was wild with fright and commanded me to hide myself and Leandra outside, among the trees. Even at that young age, we knew not to question her. We climbed high into the branches of a nearby tree, and before we could look away, our parents were cut down without ceremony before our door. The Source Hunters sauntered away, wiping their blades with pride. 2 more sorcerers dead, a job well done. From that moment on, everything was different. As we trembled in that tree, our fear and our desperation were so potent that the magic within us began to weave together. Our souls became forged together, our bond unbreakable. We would survive, thrive even, within those woods, never speaking to outsiders. Our soul forge meant that if one of us were to die, the other would instantly perish too. We kept one another close. Leandra's capacity was enormous. Source didn't frighten her, and she delved into that dark well with terrible regularity. I did my best to guide her, but she fast outgrew my admonitions. My sister and I were mired in a solitary existence, witches among the trees when Zandalore came. Leandra especially couldn't leave him be. He was a feast of information, and she wouldn't rest until she'd absorbed every bit of knowledge he offered. Their days were spent on charms, hexes, and the like. At night, Leandra would wander off to practice what she'd learned, and Zandalore and I would settle into our quiet tasks, side by side. We were a content trio, the 3 of us, but base impulse would undo us. As you know, Leandra and I were soul-forged. This offered us a window into one another's souls. I knew Leandra had developed feelings for Zandalore, and she knew I had too. But it was me to whom he confessed his love. Those quiet evenings together had captured his heart, as they had mine. Her heart broke the moment we announced our new attachment, and I felt the pain of it as sharply as a knife. She fled, without a word, and I didn't see her for 2 terrible years. My connection to her, our soul forge, grew weaker. It was as though some third entity, a parasite, were atop our souls, sucking the strength from it day by day. I am, but there is more to our kind than they teach at your academy. Source isn't only blood and madness. It's like lightning, an exquisite current of great power. We sorcerers are like metal steeples. Source is drawn to us and it flows through us. But what so many fail to understand is that Source can be controlled. The power drunk through history have abused it, and all the world's sorcerers have borne terrible consequences. Tell me, Source Hunter, in all your hours studying the arcane arts, did your great masters ever suggest that perhaps not all sorcerers were evil? Did you ever hear, even once, that some of us were weak and gentle? That we could be simple forest folk healing the sick and frozen each winter? No, I doubt also that they'd mention that one day this hunt of yours would birth a broken soul powerful enough to inch all of Rivellon toward oblivion. No. No, that would be going too far, and eschewing my own responsibility. I believe Leandra's long fall down did begin at the hands of some of your own order, but it was I who sparked all of this. I cannot condone the terrible things she's done, but I can seek to understand them. With our soul forge in such tatters, I believe Leandra is adrift in the not at all inconsiderable sorrows of our lives. What's more, I sense a terrible force bearing down upon the bond between us. It is hungry, and it consumes ever more of Leandra's mind and soul. I cannot say exactly what this force might be, but I'm certain it's both driving me out and driving Leandra on. If I could only repair the forge, I'm certain she'd put a stop to this madness. Continue your search. You are so close to the end of your journey. You cannot falter now.
Good to see you on the shelter plane. A home away from home, is it not? Like the imp said to the ballista operator, shoot! Wouldn't it just? Would that I had a Starstone sightseeing guide, but alas, such a booklet does not exist. Just like yourselves, Starstones are curiously absent from history, both in my writings and on the tapestry of time. From what I can gather, though, they were once cherished by devious sorcerers whose reign ended long ago. The stones are therefore most likely to be found in the ancient places of this world. Ruins, caves, the lairs of long-forgotten evils. Those are the dens you should frequent. 2 more pieces of advice. Don't go unarmed, and consult with my agent. Neither do I, but the mere fact that activated Starstone has set the Weaver of Time weaving again more than implies that it and the Void Dragon are natural enemies. This in turn more than implies that you are the Void's natural enemy, for it is you who is setting new events in motion. You who is handing the Weaver new threads. And that which she is weaving is more than an ornament to decorate the shelter plane. It is both history and future history. It is all of time. We may not understand the how yet, but our aim is clear. We shall save creation from the grip of the Void. Now, isn't that a lovely mission? Oh, I don't know if I'm more than those things per se, but having been given a divine mission does have its perks. Old age can't touch me, that's one. Immortality is mine as long as no one skewers me with a sword. And even then, I'll be back in a jiffy. But of course, I have a price to pay for something that is priceless. It is my duty to record all of history, and an arduous task that is. Not to mention how much stress that void out there is causing me. The end of time. I'll be out of a job. So, gather those Starstones so that we may know the history that was lost. Know so that we must not repeat what leads us to this dangerous precipice, but do better and close the dark eye of the Void forever. Lonesome, observing the frontier of creation, surfing the vibrant tide of the eons, always approaching yet never reaching shore. Lonesome, being privy to all that has been and all that is. Well, yes, actually. I don't mean to complain, but one certainly doesn't mind a bit of company now and then. Perhaps you can imagine the profound pleasure it is to have made the Weaver's acquaintance after all these years. I can hardly wait to pick her brain about the great battle of the sons of Sigurd. The last Rivellonian who remembers it died more than 7,000 years ago. Quite a card, isn't she? I never know whether that one's going to offer a striking commentary on my efforts to record the Great Dwarven Wars, or a potion meant to turn my tongue blue for a week. She and I have run in the same sort of magical circles for, well, not as long as I can remember, but close to it. Once in a century or so, I'll pop in while she's experimenting with a particularly interesting charm, and we'll share a mug of glow wine and a discussion about this and that. Quite glad you brought her here, I am. When Ikara's here, there's nothing to fear. That's what she always tells me, anyhow. Indeed I can. The tapestry has revealed all. Saucy stuff, I can tell you that. But of course, you're professionals and interested in the dry fact only, not the smutty details. Suffice to say that though Zandalor and Ikara were an item, the wizard gave in to his baser instincts when her sister Leandra came a-wooing. Only, what truly interested her was not his body, but his mind and the secrets of the source buried therein. Jake was there too, waiting in the shadows to ascertain that between the two of them, they'd be able to subdue the wizard should he become unruly. No more. You see, he is instrumental to her plans. But when Zandalor became suspicious, she didn't hesitate to play the part of Black Widow, ready to kill after copulation, ready to break her sister's heart twice over. Ah, Leandra, Imp Slayer, Blood Craver, Void Seeker. All-round lovely lass, ain't she? Indeed I can. The tapestry has sufficed. Only, what truly interested her, no more. You see, Leandra, Imp Slayer, it shall be my pleasure. How very right you are. These thoughts have been bubbling in my mind like so much drink in a still. But I believe they've finally transformed into something quite potable. From what I can gather, the following stands to reason. The generals were put in charge of the God Box, but they must have faltered. The void must have escaped, or how could it loom upon us once more? Perhaps that faltering could explain why their souls were loosed, and why those souls now reside so contentedly within you. I think he is an ancient being so very old he outstrips the gods in their longevity. I think he used to be one with the void, that he used to roam freely through a universe that knew no creation. Perhaps that is why, I conjecture, he may well regard all that is as an abomination as terrifying as we hold the void to be. Time is a transgression most contemptible in his eyes. Space, mere savagery. We know what he did. He befriended Astarte and fed her curiosity until it became so agitated with the need to know what rested in the God Box that she herself, this creature of unadulterated purity, turned to deception. He longs for a return to a pre-creational state, for the death of the gods, for the nothingness in which he was born. At least, that is my highly educated guess. Most certainly. Ah, yes, the Hall of Heroes. Once upon a time, great feasts were held there in honor of heroes graced by the gods themselves. In that room, mortals and immortals dined side by side. I can't think of a better place to gather new heroes, should you come across such rarities, so that when needed, they can serve you in your quest against the void. So you have the inner chamber. The tapestry has shown me that these were the personal quarters of the gods chosen two. They lived lives of opulent luxury, a well-deserved return for services rendered against the onslaught of demons and dark champions of the void. They are yours now, the chosen two anew. That must be the Hall of Flames, mustn't it? You control the elements, Source Hunter, and fire is the most inherently destructive of them all. You can learn much there that will make even the void sweat. Yes, the Hall of Stone. Strong as the heart of mountains, durable as diamonds in the roar. The element that is Earth isn't the subtlest of the bunch, but it packs a punch like no other. In time, so will you. Quite. The Hall of Winds, to be more precise, where an air elemental resides. The most poetic of nature's forces, the most gentle, but when unleashed, boy, you had better hold on to your hats. Tempest and lightning, storm and shadow. She can teach you many valuable things indeed. No more than that she is privy to secrets even I have a hard time getting to the root of. The Weaver told me she knows about starstones, where they are hiding in the dark. She'll ask you for a price for such information, this sharer of secrets. But then again, that information is quite priceless, is it not? Aye, one can't quite get around demons these days. Luckily, old Moloch is as gentle as, well, not a lamb exactly, more as a starved lion, but that is still exceptionally meek as demons go. His powers are formidable, but don't let him deceive you. For all that he grants, he grabs something in return. Quid pro quo is his motto. Always remember that. Like you, she is a mystery. But she seems to know you, doesn't she? Perhaps you'll meet her again and we'll learn more about her and about you. Oh, and it's a bit drafty in here, isn't it? Every year. Did you? Most wonderful. Could I have a quick read? Yes. Crikey, Dragon of the Void, She doesn't mess around now, does she? The Temple of the Source. I've heard of such a place, buried deep within the forbidden confines of a cursed phantom forest. That is where your travels should take you, east of the Lacula Woods, even though death hangs over that place like a ghostly fog. But first, you should go to Hunter's Edge, the village that borders those haunted woodlands. That is where Zandalore lives. The wizard Leandra is hunting. He is knowledgeable of the source, and his capture by the Void Seekers would be catastrophic indeed. Of all the wicked things, the one substance that can stand in the way of the Void, and she's turning it into vessels of blight. You'll have to redouble your efforts, my friend. You'll have to find more starstones before she does and forestall her insidious distortions. Like the imp said to the ballista operator, shoot!
How might I serve our mission?
Every year, I said.
In the ethereal threads of eternity, do I record the deeds of gods and men, of beasts and spectral apparitions. The drift of continents through changing seas, the rise and fall of empires, the shift of every grain of sand on every beach, the fall of every raindrop on every world, the all but imperceptible touch of lovers' hands. This and all I chronicle without fault. Except, it seems, you. Ask and I shall answer. If I am the weaver of time, as I have told you, though my existence is one that falls behind and yet far exceeds the verb to be. I am but what I am, and that is task. It is the same for the historian. Chroniclers both are we of the epics of eternity. Perhaps we are one and the same. Task multiplied by 2. Who has made us? I do not know. Why have they done so? I do not know. Am I the beginning? And am I to be the end? Who shall say? Perhaps I am the first thing in creation. Perhaps I am creation. Perhaps I am the creator. Or maybe it is you. You who makes dying stars rekindle. Time alone will tell. Alas, the answers to those questions still elude me. You and Starstone remain the imperfections upon the tapestry. As yet. A hidden answer lies behind this veil of inscrutability, though. For the link between you and the stones reveals that your destinies are intertwined. I believe that Starstones will not lead you to new places of wonder only. No. They will also lead to new knowledge through the restoration of the threads of old. What it is but a seed bereft of sun and water. What it could be, that is what the Starstones will tell us. What it is but the end. What it could be is the end of ends. I reside in another realm altogether. But ever since the end of time appeared in these deep dark skies, I materialized here, as if forced to watch the one thing that is unwatchable, unendurable. A thankless task that you may yet free me from forever. Oh, Hunter, I have no need for company, like I have no need for air or appetite or affection. All I need, and all I am, is time. And time is running out, unless you remedy its decline. And yet, I do enjoy your companionship, for you may prove to become the cure that will heal my slipping soul. Quite so. Your absence, it should be an impossibility, but no matter where I look, you cannot be found. I do not know you, which makes you my one perennial imperfection, a blind spot in the eye of time. But perchance I may be cured of this blindness. Perchance the blemish may be undone, and time can be redeemed. I think that perhaps you can redeem time, because you create time. Indeed, you have set in motion an event I no longer held possible. Know that no longer I did weave. I sat here at the end of time and watched on as the void frays the fabric of time like a terrified god that fears the offspring of his own creations. But suddenly there was you. You who stirred the life within the stones. These stones, children of stars, they place new ribbons along my fingers like phantoms out of time. New threads emerged, and I began to weave anew. Starstone gives me new strands to braid into the tapestry. And because you give Starstone energy, it seems that you are creating time. These Starstones, please seek them so that time may yet be mended. Please, for the sake of all that lives and all that loves, seek them so that the void may yet devour itself alone. Threads I weave and tales I see, all will I tell. She is one whose history is shrouded in darkness. She is more than a woman, though less than a goddess. She knows you. You have wronged her. She is part of the end, though she longs to be part of endlessness. He is the instigator. He is the beginning of all ends, the birth father of death and void. Be wary of him. I know not what is fear, and yet, before him, I tremble. The threads tell me that once, oh, how many eons lie hidden in so small a word. Once, you strode across that hall in shining armor, a sovereign to all who beheld your might. I can clearly read that armies you have led, demons and dragons you have conquered, that you have ascended. But how can this be now that you stand before me a human, a mortal? How far has your soul fled from the being it used to be? New threads, more threads we need. Can the answer be anything but you? The threads say that you slept there, you both did, until the vigil of day and vigil of night called you away. Duty. Never did you waver from your duty, never? I cannot be certain. Perhaps just once, you failed. I know of him. The tapestry tells me all it can, and I know he knows you. This aspect of fire served you. In fact, he serves you still. He stood by your side on battlefields large as cities. Together, you overcame foes beyond comprehension. So you have. It was to be expected. Once you were sovereigns after all, and all the earth lay at your feet. Tremble, you would shout, and this creature would bring his fists down upon the ground, shaking it so vigorously that the walls of the enemy would crumble. She is a creature of both tenderness and destruction. She is the summer breeze and the thunderstorm both. Once, at your command, she would drive away the rain clouds and usher in the spring. At other times, she would gather them above your enemy and send shattering strokes of lightning down along their shattering spines. Her story is the story of 1,000 tales. She has traveled the celestial sphere that is Rivellon more extensively than even the historian has. Once upon a time, her favorite words, she was of incalculable importance during the wars against the Void Guards that threatened the creation of the gods. Wherever they hid, she found them. What plans they thought most secretive, she knew them. Teller of Secrets is her title, for in her world there are none. Moloch, I know of him, he has a kind soul. In as far as kindness has least to dwell within the confines of a demon's body. He is kind in that he is honest. For that which you give, you will receive something in return with no strings attached. No unpleasant threads for me to weave. Not always was he so, no. He was true to his vicious nature. But during the Great War on Chaos, he, supposedly immortal, found himself on his back, with your sword halfway down his throat. You saw the fear in his eyes, the incomprehensibility of death and defeat, and so you took pity on him. He hasn't forgotten your kindness and became somewhat kind in return. A demon redeemed. But of course, what part would you like to see? Long ago, two great generals led mankind in a terrible war. The dreaded Void Dragon threatened all of existence, and man and gods alike joined swords to stop it. the two generals were celebrated as the rulers of all, and even the gods paid them tribute. I both chronicle and create. Where you arrive at conclusions, I spin origins besides. How might I serve our mission? But of course, what part would you like to see? After the war was won, the Void Dragon remained a great threat to all existence. And so, upon the anvil of creation, the God Box was crafted. The Void was locked within, but still the question remained: who would guard the box? The two generals offered themselves. They would give up life and glory to stand sentinel. Transformed into immortal beings, they would be the Void's eternal guardians. They placed the box and the guardians in the first garden, home of Astarte and of the world's most beautiful power, Source. For time immemorial, the Guardians stood by the God Box, no longer human in body or in mind, but duty personified.
It's a time for swords.
But if they succeed, the time of the pen will return forever.
So it shall, so it shall.
How might I serve our mission? But of course, what part would you like to see? For millennia, the God Box was flanked by the two devoted guardians. But Astarte's playmate, a creature called the Trife, turned her attention to the forbidden box. I may know a way to destroy what's inside, hissed the scheming creature. Together, we can set the Guardians free. Open its lid, Astarte, and we can have a look together. Astarte trusted her friend and assented. She pitied the Guardians and welcomed a chance to free them. Let me help you, she whispered into the ear of one. I know your duty, but you both deserve a chance at freedom. Haven't you suffered enough of this chore? She asked the other. Look, your companion is free already. The Guardians, unaccustomed to such attention, started. She had planted a seed of curiosity within them, rekindled a desire that had, for eons, lain dormant. Slowly, they glanced at one another, and the Trife's trap was sprung. You and Zandalor have always been close, Ahu. Pray tell, did you know anything about his affair at the King Crab?
Come now. Do you really think he'd let me in on it in advance if he'd been planning an affair with your sister?
How can I tell? Maybe you taught him a thing or two about slinking around in between shadows.
If that were true, Ikara, he wouldn't have been murdered, resurrected, and pursued by the bringer of the apocalypse as a result, now would he?
Ha, true enough.
How can I help you, my friend?
A bit drafty.
But certainly. What would you like to know? Oh, I am but a wizard, a guardian of man and beast, and indeed I am both. My body, like any other, is bound to temporal decay. But my spirit is a speck of light that shone forth from the eternal sun that is the cosmic soul. My task upon this earth is to protect the heart of nature, the very antithesis of which is the intrigue spun by demons and directors of the dead. Hence my involvement in Sisio. You see, my one desire is to witness a world in which every mother looks around her and purrs with calm contentment. For she knows that her chicks or children, her cubs or calves, will grow up without knowing the meaning of menace, the enfeeblement of fear. To my great regret, none of them purr as yet. Oh, but that's not a trick. It's a blessing. Or does it surprise you that I enjoy taking a feline guise? Such magic is a gift, Hunter. To tread upon the realm of instinct, even articulate speech, perhaps humanity's greatest asset, cannot give expression to something so inextricably innate.
Doesn't it?
To be out in the night, to stalk on silent paws and hunt with only the moon as your witness, you couldn't possibly imagine the thrill. But of course it's handy to speak in more than meows. And I couldn't brew potions or make machines without opposable thumbs, this I freely admit. Let's just say I have found a way to enjoy the best of two worlds. Oh, that'll never happen. Granted, a witch could make the polymorph permanent if she'd enchant me in my cat guise, but I'll just have to be careful around witches, won't I? I'm my own wizard, you know, and I don't intend to become anyone's familiar. By all means. I can't say much more, but that they're madmen, all the more dangerous to us because of their alliance with what should be a natural enemy. You won't see me teaming up with a terrier in a hurry. And what might those be? So the Sparkmaster 5000 has been reduced to scrap, has it? A shame, really. But if your actions saved lives, I suppose you may consider its demise a success. Oh, a mere trifle for one with the intellect of a feline and the engineering skills of a human. You basically construct a classic ballista, add a 100% legally obtained self-regenerating source of destructive magic to it, and Bobcat's your uncle. What? A mere fleabag won the heart of that exquisite black beauty? I knew I should have acted sooner. And now I've let her slip through my claws. What? Why are you looking at me like that? She's certainly more beautiful than any human lady I've ever seen. Besides, it's easier to raise kittens than kids, I can tell you that. Ah, yes, that was a small fib on my part, I'm afraid. Zandalore is known as the Keeper of the Source, after all. And I didn't know how Source Hunters would react to my association with such a colorful character.
The wonder's stashed inside.
I wonder, do you know more about the void? What it is? What lies at the heart of it?
What lies at its heart? Why, nothing, of course. The great absence of all that even the gods cannot comprehend. It eludes us, like infinity, or the finality of tick-tocking time.
I have the last chest, the last chest, the last chest! If you believe yourself worthy of rifling through my ample treasures, I do dare you to prove it! Find my 4 sisters, no more than one in each of the realms of your wide world, and each by each, you'll discover how to open me!
That's a nice chain.
You flatter me, my lady, but yes, I quite like to
stashed
weave
inside.
between 2 planes of existence, bound by mind and soul. There is a grandeur to it.
I
if
wonder how much of a spark it takes to zap a human to vapor.
That grandeur humbles rather quickly when you see him groom himself.
cold.
You know
Master
what?
Imp.
Great jokes.
Very, very
I
cold.
could tell a joke or two. Free on a good day.
You both puzzle and delight me, Sir Ahu. To be man and cat both. Such an interesting life you lead.
You flatter me, my lady, but yes, I quite like to weave between two planes of existence, bound by mind and soul. There is a grandeur to it, if a humble one.
And trust me, dear lady, that grandeur humbles rather quickly when you see him groom himself.
I'm the imp of the year. Every year, I said. Think I could fly straight to the void? I think I could fly straight to the void.
You and Zandalor have always been close,
way up.
Ahu. Pray tell, did you know
Have you
anything
seen my
about
magic
his affair
box?
at the King
It's got
Crown?
all kinds of
Come
wonders
now.
stashed inside.
Do you really think he'd let me in on it in advance if he'd been planning an affair with your sister?
How can I tell? Maybe you taught him a thing or two about slinking around between shadows.
That's a nice ring.
If that were true,
I wonder how much
he
of a
wouldn't have been
spark it
murdered,
takes to
resurrected,
set a
and
human
pursued
to
by the
vapor.
bringer of the apocalypse as a result, now would he?
Ha, true enough.
A question has me stumped, milady. Why are there two of us? Two beings that record all of history parallel to one another.
That is a good question, Zigzags. One without a conclusive answer, though its resolution may lie in conception. Where you chronicle, I both chronicle and create. Where you arrive at conclusions, I spin origins besides.
A bit drafty in
Think
here,
I
isn't
could
it?
fly straight
Are
to
we
the
near
void?
that event?
I think I could fly straight to the void. All the way up.
I wonder, do you know more about the void? What it is? What lies at the heart of it?
You know what?
What
Great
lies at
jokes.
its heart?
I could tell a
Nothing.
joke or two.
Nothing.
Free on a good
Of
day.
course. The great absence of all that even the gods cannot comprehend. It eludes us, like infinity, or the finality of tick-tocking time.
Still, one
Jack,
can't help but wonder
have
where
you seen
the
my
gods
magic
have run off
box?
to in
It's
all
got
this.
all kinds
The
of
void
wonders
won't
stashed
spare
inside.
them, you know. There's no
A bit
hiding
drafty
from the
in
great
here, isn't it?
nothing.
Are we near a event?
Think I could fly straight to the void? I think I could fly straight to the void.
There were.
You know what?
and
Great
one
jokes.
is of no import.
I could tell a joke or
This
two.
moment is
Free
all
on a
there
good
is.
day.
The crux is what we do with it.
Doom! Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Aye, Captain.
Mine is but the pen. Theirs is the sword.
I wonder how much of a spark
this is
it
a
takes
time
to zap
for
a human
swords.
to vapor.
But if they succeed, the time of the pen will return. Forever.
So it shall. So it shall.
Say, have you seen my magic box? It's got all kinds of wonders stashed inside.
There is magic to this place, isn't there?
A bit drafty in
No
here,
matter
isn't
how
it?
forlorn it
Fly
seems.
straight to the
There
void?
is magic, but it is not so much
to the
forlorn
void?
as it is dormant. I trust the Source Hunters and their star stones will stir it from its slumber.
I'm confident they will. They must. The alternative is
I
unthinkable.
wonder how much of a spark it takes to zap a human to vapor.
What was it again?
Every year,
The so-called damned one.
Not lately, Master Imp. Indeed, I very much fear that until the void is caged once more, there will be no future to prophesy.
Captain. You know what are great? Jokes. Oh, I could tell a joke
Our
or two.
heroes have
Free on a
chosen
good
5
day.
vessels for their return. Mere humans, I'd have said but a little while ago, and yet they've managed to bring us together across space and time.
Have you seen my magic box? It's got all
and a
kinds
frigid
of wondrous
prison
stuff
wasteland.
inside.
Now that you mention it, what did you do to Leandra to earn her icy ire, Ikara?
Leandra and I have had our differences, but she herself would never have sent me to that frozen hell.
That's a nice
Something or someone has taken hold of her. I'm sure of it.
How might I serve our mission?